that I have defined something like why, what, and how. When I say if I focus on why, it is means focusing on
The past.
past.
Yeah.
It is like that, no? Why doesn't solve all the problem? You may get to the knowledge of it, but will it solve a problem? No. And it will also drain your energy in the process of finding out why. Whereas if you focus on present and future, that is what is to be done and how it is to be done.
Right.
That's what I try to tell. And in this whole process, our discipline, our integrity, our communication, developing that leadership of my own self, it all helps.
Correct.
I believe everybody is a leader because that's what human beings are.
Right.
So you have to develop that leadership of leading yourself in a better.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sum of Everything podcast, where we discuss a little bit of a lot of topics. I'm your host, Aishwarya, and today, as you may have noticed, we are not in the regular setup. We are at the home of our very distinguished guest, who has very graciously allowed us to host our podcast episode here. Today's guest, Group Captain Rameish Dhulipad, welcome, Uncle,
Thank you.
is someone I know personally and is, apart from one of the most inspiring people I know, he is a veteran of the Indian Air Force with over 4 decades of experience in the aerospace field. He has worked with DRDO and HAL with an MTech from the Indian Institute of Sciences. He has also 3 decades of experience in holistic sciences and is a grandmaster in Reiki and has done his doctorate in acupuncture. So, welcome, Uncle. I'm so glad to have you. Today, we are discussing something very interesting. We are discussing this amazing book, which you have authored, Master Your Response, Master Your Life, which is, I can say with personal experience, that it has made an immense impact on my life. And I've actually brought my own copy of the book just to show it's battered, and it's also, I've marked places that I have considered important just to keep revisiting it. So you write in your book that the journey of this book started off with you giving lectures while in your career. So can you please tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write this book now, if this is something that you've been talking about for so many decades?
In my career, apart from my maintenance, operations, administration, etc., I've also been in the faculty. Training has been one of the core of my heart. And I have trained both officers and airmen of Indian Air Force. And also I've been president of the Promotion Examination Board or Regional Examination Board. This journey started after some 20 years of experience. First of all, I was posted in Air Force Technical College as a faculty, as a instructor, which is equivalent to a professor. So there, among my various jobs was taking examination for promotional prospects of airmen at various bases of Indian Air Force and around more than 350 trades, different trades. During that time, one's base commander at that time in Kanpur asked me, can I take some lecture for the airmen of that base and who had come from other bases about motivating them or treating them. Then the thought came to me that people, they are generally in many things. Most importantly, they have to manage their life, their career, their personal various difficult conditions. And on top of that, write these examinations. And there was a continuous disturbance. Like every 2 years or 3 years, they will get posted somewhere. They have to see at their children education, family life. It's a continuous change. You can't go and live whenever you wish.
Right.
All these are there requires a lot of adaptation.
Correct.
And the biggest challenge to them is how do you address so many challenges in one go? It puts them under constant pressure. So that caught my attention. Basically, the response. It is not about the changes. It is a response to those changes and defining the problem. So I conducted a workshop for 1.5 hours duration, managing change through leadership.
Right.
It was almost lunchtime. Actually, it crossed lunchtime. But still, they sat through the whole thing. And not only that, at the end of that, they all stood up and gave a standing ovation. Normally, in armed forces tradition, when you give a lecture, at the end of it, there's no ovation, standing ovation,
Okay.
clapping or down is not there. But it happened.
Right.
So what it showed is how it resonated with them.
Right.
That's what was the thing. Then subsequently, I was posted to another Air Force base where I was chief instructor with more than 3,000 trainees there.
Yeah.
Then I saw all young guys below 18, 20 years of age coming and joining, undergoing training, where they are under various stress, imagined stress. They were well paid, the training centers were fine, but I saw many attempts of people trying to run away, commit suicide, all those things. So it's once again brought me back to the factor. It is a question of adaptation because we don't know how do we respond to challenges in life.
Right.
What do we make out of these challenges in life? Whether we make it bigger than what it is, we forget what is that opportunity of facing the challenge. It was simple things like some girlfriend is missing, or some sister, brother,
Right.
house,
Right.
environment. Suddenly you are here and never ever subjected to various tough conditions. Here
Right.
you are going through morning till night. It is a question of addressing that challenges which life continuously throws.
Right.
So this I taught over a period of time in the next 15 years till I wrote this book to sometime group of 300 people, sometime group of 2, sometime single person. Always the end result used to be the same. People used to realize what is that change and how we can address. And general feedback I always got was they never heard such things before and how it has changed their
Right.
life and their thinking.
Right.
Because life is same, problems have been same. It's not that problems have vanished.
Right.
It's a question of how do we address those problems. Subsequently, many of those people requested me, can I put it in writing? So I have taken some sabbatical from my other things and turned it down.
Right.
That's what this book is about. Even before I published the book, I gave it to some 30, 40 readers of various age groups.
Right.
All of them have given wonderful feedback.
Yeah.
And based on that, it has been published. If I can touch life of one person a day, my life is made. So this is also an attempt in the direction.
Okay, there are so many things that I can take from this. The first being, I'm so grateful that you actually decided to put it down in writing because I don't think I would have had an opportunity to actually come and listen to you for many reasons. So I'm really grateful that you actually put it down because it gives a larger audience access to such potent thoughts, which you would think are very obvious when you read them in the first go, but it's not that obvious because there's a lot more that goes behind articulating these thoughts. Secondly, I want to take out two things that you said. First is defining the problem. You said it's important to define the problem, and second, you talked about response.
Yes.
Both things that are given immense importance in the book. Firstly, when you're saying that when you're faced with a challenge, defining that challenge, defining the problem is extremely important and how you go about it. And the second is once you've identified what the problem is, how you respond to it. So there are multiple layers to it. Can we start with the equation that you have mentioned in the book, which I know that it's been there for more than a decade now, the equation being event plus response equal to outcome. Can you talk about that equation and how you have brought it into practice in your own life and how you go about advocating the use of that equation?
Yeah, very nice question. See, first and foremost, this book is not about only one equation.
Right.
E plus R is equal to O, or events plus response is equal to outcome.
Right.
Yes, that is the core. As you can see in my book in Review of Literature, this equation has come about in Bhagavad Gita itself. It has come in various rather international people like Stephen Covey, etc. I have quoted philosophy, spirituality, and psychology all combined together. I always felt you can say events, for that I respond, it decides the outcome, that becomes the new event. It's a cyclic equation.
Right.
Yes, it is very important. But here, what we need to understand is that what is this response dependent upon? It's very easy to say, you respond like this, don't react.
Mm.
Please respond. But is it sufficient? Where is this emerging from? What is this response dependent upon?
Right.
It depends on many things, starting from acceptance, expectations, our discipline, the integrity of thought I have defined.
Yes.
I have defined some equation R is equal to A by E. I have
Yes.
also defined one thing saying that integrity of thought, feeling, and action. That is thinking, feeling, and doing.
Right.
How do we do it? How our communication and how, like any other exercise, if you want to build up one muscle, you will do a daily exercise. If you want to build up your health, you'll do daily yoga, something like that. Like that, every moment you have to think, how do I treat myself? How do I teach myself to be ready for an eventual situation where the event expects you a bigger response?
Right.
Small daily things. It is like, no, they say in armed forces, more you sweat in peace, less you bleed in war. Same concept. So I have used multiple things like train to tell who is an adult, what is responsibility, what is discipline, what is integrity, what is communication. So that I am wanting to say everybody is a leader. We have to lead ourselves
Right.
into the situation of life.
Right.
That's why this takes. It's not about only E plus R.
Right. No, and what I understood is there's a very scientific approach that has been taken in the
Yes.
book, right? You've explained everything with examples, and I also know for a fact that a lot of these examples that you've used are inspired from actual real life events that have
Yes.
taken place.
Correct.
Right? A lot of times people may dismiss a book like this or a self-help book in general because you think that it's a lot of woo-woo, which is the term being used.
Yeah,
There's a lot of spirituality, very
Correct.
spiritually deep.
Yeah. Okay.
But how this book is different is that you've used such simple language and simple examples. Even someone who is not used to reading will be able to relate to it very, very easily. And which is where these equations come in, right? Like generally, I read somewhere that if you include an equation in your book, any equation, for each equation you include, your readership comes down by 50%. However, I think in this case, it's very different because this equation is almost the soul of this book,
Yes.
right? And the equation being event plus response is equal to the outcome. Now, to break it down, we have an event and we have a response. Now, you've talked about event being the definition of the challenge, the problem. Something happens, change happens, right? The response to it is what decides how your life proceeds from it. Another thing you've done is you've differentiated between reaction versus a response. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. See, I have tried to tell this, first of all, to make it understand across various age groups and across various educators. I have kept the language simple. I have not used big jargons so that everybody, even if they can know a little bit of English, they can read. Second is, I have tried to tell this understanding of this equation of life by simple arithmetical equations of using -2 + 2 like that.
Yes.
Because we all use that much of arithmetic in our life.
Right.
So the whole thing is, I take my inspiration from the childhood Panchatantras and other stories. If you tell anything through stories, it's very easy to connect. There are some 80 odd stories in my book, and each one, at least, if you read a book, irrespective of what is your background, what is your age, you will at least relate some stories.
Yes.
So, you are a college going kid, or a working professional, or a business person, for everybody, there is some story.
Right.
To reach as many people as possible, so that as a society, we can become better. As individual, our lives can better, and our stress levels will come down.
Right.
So, by understanding, how do I think about a problem?
Okay. And coming to the response versus reaction, you put a lot of emphasis on the difference between reacting emotionally versus responding after you take a breather, right? In today's day and age, for example, you are encouraged to talk about your emotions. You're encouraged to express more. You're encouraged to give weight to what the emotions are telling you about yourself. How do you balance being emotional and talking about your emotions, reacting based on your emotions, and the response that you've talked about in your book?
First of all, before we go into the reaction versus response, we need to understand, like, I've structured my book in a particular way.
Right.
So the reason for that is it has come out of this experience of my conducting or teaching workshops. So what happens is, first we need to understand who we are. That's why I have given a chapter on am I an adult? I have questioned the basic thing. And I have defined adult as someone who takes responsibility for all his actions, present state, and whether it's financially, health, relationship, anything. So when I say all his present state, the state has come about by his reaction or response, and also giving a thought about what that response is likely to create an outcome. I have defined in my book also, reaction is animalistic in nature, because when you react, you don't know what is the outcome. Because you are not given a thought about that outcome. I may say something harsh, I may shout, I may fight, or I may cry, I may run away, whatever, all these are reaction. Why I call it animalistic is, we as human beings, we are also part of the animal kingdom.
Yes.
And we have got what psychologists or doctors say, FFF. That is fright, flight, and freeze.
Yes.
So this we need to understand. That can be trained. How do I do that? Even a tough situation comes, it is like going into war. If you are unprepared, you go there, you can do only FFF. But whereas if you are trained, you know what can be done. That thought process. Same way in life, it is a continuous training. Life is about that.
Right.
Because it's a continuous series of events.
Right.
So as a result, whether I am reacting or responding, can I learn a pause? That will come with the awareness. What happens if I react? If I take responsibility or whatever called ownership for that, that is my ability to respond will increase.
Right.
That's why I define responsibility as response plus ability. Our ability to respond to what? To events of life.
Right.
Every moment is an event. Like you and me are talking, it's an event.
Right.
During this event itself, there are so many things happen.
So, yeah.
Okay, light goes off, power cuts off, there is a disturbance.
Right. Yes.
But how do I respond? Can I get irritated on that? Or I say, okay, let me see how I can proceed.
Correct.
So with that purpose only, to understand this whole thing, how do you focus on response rather than reaction? That I have defined something like why, what, and how.
Right. Yes.
I have defined three things. When I say, if I focus on why, it means focusing on
the past. Yeah.
It is like that, no? Why doesn't solve all the problem? You may get to the knowledge of it, but will it solve a problem? No. And it will also drain your energy in the process of finding out why. Why anybody did anything like that? Why anybody behaved like this? Why this happened to me? That question doesn't solve anything. Whereas if you focus on present and future, that is what is to be done and how it is to be done.
Right.
That's what I have tried to tell in this one. And in this whole process, our discipline, our integrity, our communication, developing that leadership of my own self, it all helps.
Correct.
So I urge all. I believe everybody is a leader because that's what human beings are.
Right.
So you have to develop that leadership of leading yourself in a better way.
Right. And very interesting that you say that everybody is a leader, because you also talk about born leaders and leaders that are made,
correct.
Right. And you say that leadership is not something that you necessarily have to be born with.
Correct.
It is about taking ownership.
Correct.
And you give such beautiful everyday examples about how you can be a leader, right? And in each one, I see that there is a connecting factor, which is how you respond to something that is unexpected. Or even if it is an expected change. And about that, you talk about response being acceptance over expectation.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, another very interesting mathematical way of looking at it, which is, one is that you have to firstly accept the change that has happened, because change is the only constant. And the second being expectations of what you thought would come as a result of that change, or what you didn't expect, or the fact that you didn't expect the change to occur at all. With respect to acceptance, does acceptance of a situation automatically mean that you are surrendering to it? That, okay, this is how it is, I can't change anything. How does that work? How does acceptance as a concept work?
Yeah, another interesting question. So what I have tried to tell is, first of all, there is chapter remark for this only. That title ending itself is called Acceptance is Not Defeat.
Right.
Why I say that? Basically, acceptance is seeing the problem as it is. Let us say some problem is there. There is this height, 1 inch. I should see it as 1 inch. I should not know, because of my preconditioned thoughts, I should not look at it as a 5 inch.
Right.
At the same time, I should not look at it as negligible. It is not to be considered.
Right.
You should look everything, whether it is a health issue, whether it's a financial issue, whether it's a relationship issue or anything. Look at objectively. You have to learn to respect your emotions. When you add emotions without understanding what it will do to the problem, that emotion can increase the size of the problem.
Right.
Or if you are totally non-emotional, it can make that problem neglect that problem. Okay, that doesn't solve the problem. You are only procrastinating or trying to turn a blind eye.
Right.
Same way, what we say now, making a mountain of a problem also is not good to say.
Yeah.
In this, it will just drain your energy in wrong directions.
Right.
So you say, when we say, okay, acceptance, you have to see the problem as it is. Okay, without adding any value to it.
Correct.
I say in terms of equation, without adding another -2 to it,
Right.
another -4 to it.
Right.
So you look at it as it is. Also, in this equation, R is equal to A by E, that our ability to respond, the response is equal to acceptance by expectation. You have to learn in life, always expectation is the one which is in the denominator, which makes all the difference.
Yeah.
I may think, I am very intelligent in life, or I may think I am the best possible candidate for a job. But when you have too much of expectation, the result can be very disappointing. So you go with a very open mind and try to do your best. You go to an interview, you go with the intention of you doing well. If you think, those 10 candidates are there, before you even go into the interview, if you think, oh, he is from somewhere, he has got this much experience, he has got somebody's backing or something else, what will happen is your energy is lost. What you can do the best, that also will not happen. You don't know the outcome, but at least what you can control is your response.
Right.
And your response becomes better by acceptance and expectation.
Right.
If you project yourself the best by not bothering about other, what is your strength?
Right.
You will go inside with a better reference of mind and come out with a better frame of mind.
Right.
Okay, you haven't done your best. Life is all about that, doing the best possible by you, without yourself comparing to others.
Right. I fully understand that concept where you have to approach things the right way, right? And like you said, the expectation denominator, if it keeps getting bigger, then is just going to completely topple the response that you can give.
Yeah.
In this respect, you talk about having reasonableness in expectations, but reasonableness as a standard is pretty subjective. What is reasonable to you may not be reasonable to me.
Correct.
How do you balance that out?
See, the thing is, expectation is a question of seeing things. I may want to write one examination. I want 100 out of 100. But inside my heart, I know I'm not prepared so well.
Yeah.
But still, you don't know my luck. I may get 100 out of 100. You go there with whatever you are prepared. With that, you score some 70%. You have done well. But still, you are unhappy.
Right.
Because what was your expectation? 100. What will happen is, in the examination hall, you go with 70% preparation, but expectation of 100% for that from the paper, it will make you freeze there. The moment you see the question paper. Because first thing what comes to mind is always, human nature is like that, you tend to see the negatives of life.
Right.
Same happens in a question paper also. You see all those questions which you
don't
cannot answer, which you are not prepared. So as a result, first thing what happens is, what you know also, you will not be able to do well. This is what is the thing about expectation. Okay. That's why when you go with a open mind, okay, and believe in your thing and do the best what you can, keeping expectation at check and accepting, okay, this is the paper, it has come. Oh, I am not prepared. So what I can do best here? Because that moment is here for in front of you.
Right.
You can walk away from that hall,
Yeah.
reappear, that's all okay.
Yeah.
That's all choices subsequently.
Yeah.
But what you can do at that moment, it is decided by your acceptance and expectation.
Right.
It is as simple as that. Same thing happens irrespective. You take a business, you take a contract, investment. If I am unreasonable in my expectation to put money in a mutual fund, I want 100% return. Knowing very well what is happening around the world,
Right.
it is unreasonable. Then what will happen is, blame thing will come. That fellow who advised me to put in a mutual fund, now I am only getting 8% return. What are my expectation? 100% return. Whose fault it is? Whereas blame I am putting on somebody else. As a result, what it is doing to you, it is draining your energy.
Right.
So that expectation, when it arises from informed knowledge, no, then it becomes correct. Otherwise, it's only a desire. There's a gap between a desire and an expectation. We can have any amount of desire. Who stops? Recently, in the Football World Cup, Mbappe said, there is no money to dream. But people only listen to that. They have forgotten how many hours of hard work you have to put behind that to reach that dream.
Right.
And if Mbappe, he is the Golden Boot player in this World Cup,
Right.
but he has not won. France has not won. But if his expectation was only winning, other than that, I'm not satisfied, he will be dissatisfied man, in spite of having played the best. It is like that. You can otherwise blame Argentina, you can blame Spain, you can blame whole FIFA, anybody.
Right.
It doesn't change anything.
Right. Very interesting about the setting of expectations and coming back to change itself, like defining the problem and change. You talk about something called the ABCD of change. A being acceptance, B being bringing about change. Can you talk about C and D and what that means?
In my ABCD of change, as you said, no, A being acceptance, B being bringing about change, C being creativity, and D being detox.
Right.
So we have to go back to the basic thing about what is creativity. Creativity, as I try to tell in the book, is not about creating a new design, creating a company, creating some art, creating something big. All of us are born creative. The biggest creativity anyone can have is how do you spend your time in life? How do you respond to the events of life? And how you are comfortable with yourself in life. We go through tough times in life. We go through good times in life. During those times, how do I learn to respond? How do I create many positive thoughts? The thoughts what we do, that is what is creative. In our Hindu culture, it is said, Aham Brahmasmi. That is, I am the creator of myself. So, I am the Brahma. What you are doing? You are creating every moment thoughts. But what that thoughts you are creating? When we talk about a company, we say that only the 51% shareholder is the owner of that company.
Right.
Am I that 51% shareholder of myself? Or my thoughts are guided and decided by me or by external things, by somebody else, or what happens outside, or what happens in TV, what happens in politics. My peace of mind, my happiness, my ownership, where is that? That is what is the question of creativity.
Right.
So here when I say creative, I say you find creative ways of responding to events of life. Same way when we talk about detox. Today there is an information overload everywhere, from morning till evening, whether through newspaper, mobiles, WhatsApp, social media, TV. It's continuously information. As a result, no, you have become toxic. If I am overfed and my whole digestive system is disturbed, one of the things what is suggested is what? Fasting. Same way, there is a e-fasting required. That is, from all these information overload, no?
A digital detox.
Digital detox is required.
Mm.
Same way, I have to understand myself by observing myself, how much of self-creation of thought is happening because of those. So this detox helps us overcome all this, keep our number of thoughts at a bay. By detox, you can respond better. That is what is ABCD of change.
I want to change gears here and I want to talk about something that honestly confused me also a little bit in your book. You talk about discipline being structured freedom. But when a normal person hears the word discipline, the first thing that comes to mind is rigidity and having, strict routines and being on time about everything. How are you making that analogy? How can discipline be equal to freedom?
Yeah. See, the thing is, normally we think discipline is rigidity,
Right.
following some rules, putting a boundary, not allowing us to do. But at the same time, we need to understand in life, freedom is not to do whatever we wish. That means we have to question our wish. If you go on top of a mountain, there is a fence put. Freedom is not allowing you to jump from there.
Right.
That boundary has been put so that you don't hurt yourself. Discipline in, like, let us say, a simple act of daily getting up and doing some physical activity. It will improve your health.
Right.
Same way, if I put a discipline to how do I spend my emotion? If I put a discipline to how do I react? If I put a discipline to how do I respond? It will create more value to my life. If I want to build a muscle, it is not possible without discipline. You have to work out, go to gym, or do at home, whatever. But in a methodical and a structured way.
Correct.
So what brings value is that structure, the process. The structure and process is known as discipline. Discipline is not about always rules. The rule is also set by whom? You. So you can set a rule to yourself, which is flexible. You will understand yourself. If I am too flexible, that means one day I can react, another day I can respond. Whereas you have a discipline, you will always think, when should I give a pause? When should I react? Or when should I respond?
Right.
That is what is about discipline. If the moment you think it's a boundaries, it's taken your freedom, you are losing your energy. My whole book is about how to save energy.
Right.
So that you can address events of life in a better way.
Right.
As long as you choose activities and a discipline and some set of rules for yourself, you will be happier. Otherwise, you will be disturbed.
And I get it because it comes down to this concept of instant gratification versus delayed gratification.
Exactly.
When I think about it, I think it all comes down to how you are able to judge a situation and how you are able to control your reactions to it and then communicate your response, right? The core aspect of response is also communicating that response, especially if it is a conversation between two people, right? And here you've talked about the difference between a conversation, a discussion, and an argument, and how tone changes everything, how tone is very, very crucial to a communication. In this aspect, can you talk about parent-child relationship and how the tone of a parent can make or break the confidence of a child?
Yeah. First and foremost, is the desire to have control. What I've tried to tell through this book is the concept of control itself is wrong. That pre-decides your reaction or response.
Okay.
When will the question of reaction will come? When things don't go as we have wished. We want to have everything under control. And we want life to play out as per our desire. We want to think because our child is there, they have to listen to everything what we say. Same thing. Just because we have grown up children, we think parents have to listen to whatever we say. Otherwise, I am not listened to.
True.
All these things happen because one aspect of not recognizing other individual as an individual and wanting to have control. In whole aspect of this response, control has got no place. So the moment you accept the situation as it is, your outcome will be different. Here in this book, now I have talked on the communication, as you said. One thing I've given a big example also about conversation, discussion, and
And
argument.
argument.
Conversation is between two people.
Mm.
There is no expectation. There is no desire for control.
Right.
You are with an open mind.
Yeah.
You want to just have a, that is what is called chit chat.
Yes.
Okay. One is chitting, another is chatting. Okay. As a result, what is happening is neither the person who is telling, they don't want any reaction from you.
Mm.
They don't want any response from you.
Right.
They want only you to listen.
Right.
And same way, you also tell your life story.
Right.
And that's all.
Done.
You are not wanting to control anybody.
Right.
Whereas the moment a discussion comes,
Mhm.
you are wanting to prove your point.
Yeah.
You are wanting to say, see, you listen to what I am trying to say.
Mm.
But still, it is semi-positive only.
Yeah.
Whereas in an argument, what happens is, there you are trying to say, you don't know anything. Only I know. I am only right, you are wrong.
Correct.
There you are trying to totally control the situation.
Right.
The tone changes into what we call in transactional analysis, no? Parent, adult, child.
Right.
From being two adults who are conversing, you are trying to
Become a bear.
become a parent. From parent position, you are trying to tell a child,
Right.
you don't know, you are still small, I am
I
telling you
better.
listen.
Yeah.
So there what happens is cross connection happens.
Mhm.
When that cross connection happens, sparks will come.
To say the least.
So that can spoil the entire
Yeah.
evening, entire that meeting or whatever. That is why it is very important to try always to start and end everything in a conversation.
Mhm.
And the moment you observe it is deviating into a
Discussion.
or argument, try to change the topic or take it somewhere or close it. Otherwise, what will happen is it will lead to so many wrong decisions, so many burnt hearts, spoiled relationships with wrong outcomes. All this will happen.
Very interesting. If I had to simplify it to the most, and if I had to give like one line, right? Pause. You have to pause before you speak. And in any kind of situation, before you have any reaction, it all comes down to taking a pause before you decide what you want to say next or what you want to do next.
Yeah. Pause is one of the biggest thing. It has been told by many psychologists, many self-help book writers, everything. Yes, it is very important to have a pause. But no, you have to train yourself.
Right.
And that training yourself in how do I respond, it comes from acquiring that knowledge. And that once you understand this whole gamut of who I am, am I an adult enough? Am I taking my ownership? If you don't take ownership, just taking a pause doesn't help. You have to take ownership. You have to understand what will be the outcome if I don't take a pause.
Right.
Or if I take a pause. Pause can be utilized effectively when you understand what that pause is going to do. If there is an emergency response required, I am being calm inside and trying to help or do that thing. You are straight away jumping into action.
Correct.
But you are responding.
Right.
Because you are being stable inside.
Right.
You understood the problem, accepted it as it is, and trying to do what best possible by you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just pause is not sufficient. Taking ownership and being stable inside. And being stable inside, it takes time.
Yeah.
How it takes time is when you start reflecting on everything what to do in a day. Slowly that stability will come. Then you understand, I am the master of my life.
Right. And actually, this kind of reminds me of something you've said to me before also, which is when I don't want to do something, I have to change my perspective and look at it in the sense that I'm grateful to be given an opportunity to do this. And it really changes everything.
Exactly.
It changes your response to.
In my chapter, one of the chapters in mathematics, arithmetic equations, I have told, look at things in a different perspective. Instead of horizontal, look at vertically.
Correct.
Your whole world
will change. Yeah.
Because it's a perspective.
I have to say that I have been putting this into practice and I'm seeing the difference that it makes to my everyday tasks. And even if it is something that I don't want to do. In fact, it happened recently. There was too much chaos happening in the house and I wasn't able to work. And I was very frustrated and I took a pause and I said, this is the sound of living at home. I am grateful to be living at home.
Exactly.
And just my mood changed.
You beautifully brought out. Many people think, no, staying at home is a disciplinary act. And no, it takes away your freedom.
Yeah.
No, it is protecting you from so many things. And also, you change the perspective. You
Mm.
start looking at what all things you are gaining.
Correct. Yes.
How many people would love to be in your position?
Yes, absolutely.
Then accordingly, whole gamut changes. Your response changes because
Correct.
perspective changes.
Correct.
It is all about perspective, all about being grateful for what you have. When you add all those things, definitely your response will be better and you will become master of everything.
Fabulous.
We are all doing this for one selfish motive: to be peaceful, to be happy,
Mm.
to live a contented life. And you look back, by responding correctly, you will avoid so many regrets. And because all has been your choice,
Mm.
and you will learn to respect your choices and be happy about it.
Right. Fabulous. That was my last question with respect to the book, the content of the book. But as an author, generally people like to tell people how to read the book. Like, how
Yeah.
would you like your reader to
Yeah.
experience the book?
Yeah, definitely. I have not given any free pages, no empty pages. I would like you to read from page 1 to page end.
Right.
Because in each page, I feel there is something.
Yes.
But if you want to know how this book has come about, I'll tell you. First, go to the end of the book, where I have written 6 pages on review of literature.
Right.
How this book has come about by inspiration from Bhagavad Gita, psychology, and philosophy. Secondly, I have written a whole book in a structured way, asking question and next answer, and that leads to another question, that leads to another answer, another
Right.
question, another answer.
Right.
As a result, if you read continuously without straight away jumping to some topic, I think you will understand this book better. Thirdly, as many of my readers have told so far, it's a book to be read again and again. It's not a one-time read book. It is not a story book. One time you read and keep it away. Because each time, as you brought out beautifully, perspective changes.
Correct.
As a result, you will learn something new, which I also do by reading through this book. So I hope all of you readers will enjoy the book.
That's great. Thank you so much, Uncle, for agreeing to come on this. I'm really grateful. And if someone wanted to buy your book, where can they find it?
It is listed on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
They can buy through Amazon.
Okay.
It is available in Sapna Book House. They can buy through Sapna Book House.
Fabulous. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So, but any of these is okay. But if you can, there is also in my book house I have given, there is one email called response advantage. I have kept that email like that. What is the advantage of a better response? So response advantage at gmail.com.
Okay.
They can send their address. I can get it posted.
Fabulous.
It is available at present only in India.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And no soft copy is available.
No soft copies.
Yeah.
Okay. What I will do is I will link all of these below in the show notes.
Yeah.
And those who want to buy it can buy it by clicking on the respective links. Thank you so much for joining today. It has been a real pleasure, despite all the mic problems. But thank you, Uncle.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I always say, when I used to teach also, I used to say thank you to my students, because more than them, I would have learned something. Same here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Uncle. But with that, we will come to a close and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye bye.